Many thanks for staying with the big story. We are talking about that fresh scandal that is brewing at the NYS, and we want to continue this conversation that I'm having here in studio. And Professor, in a bid to strengthen prosecution, the DPP is quoted as saying that he's aiming to seal loopholes in prosecuting this particular case, including conducting pre-trial conferences. Do you think this would help?
I don't know what that means, but if he's coming up with something which he thinks that can work, fair enough. But what I want to say is very simple. Who does he try? Who does he try? Does he try people from the moon, or does he try those top government officials who have got brokers in their homes, who have brokers in their offices or in the corridors of power? The problem is very, very simple. The president and the deputy president should clean their houses. Uhuru has cleaned his house by removing the undesirables from State House, and you can see changes. He has a panel of good advisors who are advising him for the benefit and security of this country, and that's why his handshake is actually making any meaning. But the deputy president has not come out in the open. Has he cleaned his house? Has he cleaned his mess? Has he made apologies? Now, having dropped the two names of the president and the deputy president, what about those who have been appointed in the cabinet? What about those who have been selected and appointed for purposes of running this country? There is a lacuna, there is an issue, there is a problem, and let us accept that we have a problem in this country and people don't want just to face it. We are now talking of small men who have been used in the ministries to loop and steal this money. Yet the big fish are there. The day we shall prosecute somebody big in this country, probably we shall have send messages. Look at what has happened in Nigeria, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, plus Singapore, where corruption was so much endemic to an extent that those countries decided to take punitive measures. And those messages were very clear. And I will disagree with my friend who says that the government should do this. They should do this, go it slow. We don't want to have soft touch approach. That has been there. That has been the song. Let us actually find out how we can plant a seed today that will eliminate corruption in 20, 50 years from today.
Right, Professor?
By having a curriculum teaching kids right from the inception, telling them that corruption is bad. When you sit in a matatu and the driver is driving, overlapping, stop that driver, take him to the police. When it is that this is wrong, these wrongs are with us. No soft mechanism, it can't work here.
Right.
Probably execution will work.
Right, and I think many agree that it's about time we see convictions taking place. But, you know, they say the law is an ass. What happened a month ago, 23 acquitted because, saying there was not a strong case that was presented by the prosecution. So how do we get there, I guess, is the question on the process of actually having a strong case, or is it a matter of goodwill? What do you think will take us to that place where we actually see heads rolling?
First of all, our courts have failed us. We must be having very corrupt judges in this country and magistrates. Our police prosecution system has failed us. Our DPP, the former DPP has failed us. But if only we give the new DPP a chance, because I know what I'm talking about. I was in the intelligence for a very long time, and I know if we give Mr. Kinoti, the DCI, a chance for those two people to work, and you give them a little bit of some time, like 6 or 8 months, you'll see changes. But Wabukala should go home. The man is very soft. The man is a Christian. The man walks with a cross on his... A cross means forgiving. How can he make a decision to prosecute somebody when he knows very well that his work is to redeem hearts from sins? Therefore, the ball lies with the government, in the president's office, and the DPP's office. I mean, the deputy president's office.
Right.
There are crooks in those two offices. They are crooks of the highest order, that they ought to be removed, if not to be put in the backyard. But the president has started it well. He has crooked off some of those crooks and is doing well. But when it comes to management of resources in this country, I would agree with Senator Kajwang that Parliament ought to pull up its socks and mandate and support those who have been given the audacity to investigate crime.
Right.
Give more money to the police. Give more money to the Director General of Police, Mr. Boynet. I have confidence in him because when he took over the police service, you don't hear anything to do with the bombs around Nairobi, what have you. Give mandate to these people. And I'd like the president to look at the NSIS and appoint more officers from there, and then hold the director of NSIS accountable in Parliament because he's paid by the taxpayers' money.
All right, Professor, and before I go to Mr. Nene, because I want to stick with that judicial process a bit, and you have alluded to a corrupt judicial system. And some people have proposed, you know, the adoption of the juror system in the country where we have a jury. Do you feel like this would improve accountability and, you know, and transparency in our judicial systems?
Now you are talking. I think this is for the first time I've had somebody speak sense in this country on television. I come from a jurisdiction of practice where juries are used in the United States when it comes to federal crimes and state crimes. I've also practiced law in the UK. The jury system works if it's introduced, but if it's introduced close with the customary incentives, where the people's courts should try the culprit, look at him, listen to him, they can make a better judgment. But if you go to court with one judge or three judges, and these people have been compromised, what would you expect to get out of it? I'm sure some of these judges are very corrupt and they need to be shown the door.
All right. And Mr. Nene, some people have argued that, you know, the groundwork for the current mess that the NYS is at was formed really when the NYS was expanded in 2013. We then saw in the financial year 2014-2015, the budget being expanded, you know, increased from 2.5 billion to 25 billion shillings, with no clear mandate really of what this was supposed to work for. Do you think this was an error, and do you agree that this really was the eye of the storm?
Sharon, I have to say that the NYS saga is saddening, it is unfortunate and very demoralizing to the youth. Because one thing is that NYS, unlike Youth Fund or Uwezo Fund, is a government project since 1964. This is one of the government projects that is supposed to be strengthened to be an example of how the government is committed towards youth operations. But if you look at every now and then, you see that people are just siphoning money from NYS. The government had a very good program, increased the number of intake from 4,000 to 450,000. They wanted to 45,000 to make sure that a lot of young people are employed and are included in the system. Now what we see is a total mess. So it's really, really demoralizing to the youth. It is really unfortunate. You've seen that I think the government has taken the youth to be very timid. People cannot fight for themselves because every money that is allocated to the youth has had scandals, even the Youth Fund, and the guys are acquitted. Personally, I think that the war against NYS has to be taken by the people in the top government positions, especially now that the president says that this is one of his main commitments in this period. I think that what the government is supposed to do is that a government must have policies and programs, and they must have budgets and timelines. If the government allocates a particular amount of money, it's supposed to go into the government policy, supposed to go to the government programs. The government should be able to investigate how the money was used. But if the government is now allowing this open robbery from something that should empower the next generation of young people, and the situation of the young unemployment in the country right now has risen to 55% for the young people, it is very, very unfortunate. So personally, what I think is, you know, corruption in Kenya is a very simple process. It is just government money released and diverted to individual projects. It's something that can just be tracked. You don't need to kill someone to know that 5 billion was transferred to do a particular point, but instead of going to that project the government stated, it went to individual pockets. The government has systems strong enough to investigate, to find out where the money was used, how the money was supposed to be used. So I think there's a lot of reluctance in the side of the government.
And Professor, I beg your pardon, a lot of people are pointing fingers to this system. You know, that is the devil of technology, that it's supposed to be a solution and then it becomes the problem. And this is the IFMIS, the Integrated Financial Management Information System, which has been seen to be the most blatant, you know, form of and a means of siphoning of money. What can possibly be done about this? Because on one hand, we can't live without technology. On another hand, it's offering, you know, a loophole for this kind of mess.
just do away with it. Kenya is not ripe for that kind of technology because it has not worked elsewhere. We saw that kind of technology also being brought into the electoral, used in the electoral process. And you saw what happened. Kenyans are very good with stealing, and especially those who are elites like myself, and those who want to get rich. They will do anything to cover up their looting. How comes that during Mzee Kenyatta's time, and probably during Moi's time, when stealing was done by the people that could be counted, why put the machine there and steal through it so that you cover your theft? Why not do away with it? I don't think we are ripe for that now because of what has happened. It's a good thing to have. It's a good resource to manage the finances of this country. But managing without accountability and proper accountability will not help us anymore because it was found out to be the only way they can steal from. And you can see how Waiguru and group worked around it, where the passwords were used to siphon money from the system. That system should be done away or put on hold until we solve this issue of corruption. But I would disagree with my friend, though this is a debate which is constructive, and I wouldn't want to go personal. I mean, what you have said is correct, but it has been there. It is there. The government has got all the papers, the paperwork, the system, the process. Everything is clean. You can walk in and they will show you and you'll be very amazed. We don't need that because it is there. We don't need soft approach. We need hard approach. We need a hammer. Because it's time Kenyans came up and said, this is our country. Let's take it and let us execute the thieves. It has happened in Afghanistan. When Afghanistan broke away from the Soviet Union, the issue of corruption was just too much, where presidents were being hanged upside down with cigarettes in their mouth. And that brought a big lesson. So let's not yomba here and there trying to milk a cow which has no milk.
All right. And okay, Mr. Nene, just talking about that and going hammer as Professor proposes, this talks to governance and approach to, anti-corruption. The president has been very articulate about his Big Four agenda. Are you satisfied with what the kind of weight he has put to the anti-corruption agenda?
You go by what the professor is saying, the hammer and the strength. This was put by, also change of leadership. The leadership in Kenya has been constant. It is the same people, it's the same system, it's the same process. So there's no way you are going to strike an hammer unless we have a revolutionary leader who is focused on changing the country. So personally, what I think is that right now, I think what the big thing that is going on in the country right now is the golden handshake. With the golden handshake, we are looking at people who are willing to reform. The president, the last time, went on TV and apologized to Kenyans. If somebody apologizes, now it is him to actualize the talk. So we should give them a benefit of doubt, but I still think that we should have strong youth voices, strong leaders coming out and pushing for justice. And also the president should be heard on how to deal with corruption. Personally, I still insist that the president should know the government policies. The president should be intelligent enough to know that this year, or he should have a committee of experts that are advising him on every policy of the government. That this year the government has this budget, because it's just about the money. This money is allocated for this project, this is what we want to do, and this is the outcome. So it is very easy to follow through the money. This money was meant to do this job. Why didn't it do the job? Then you can follow and find out the money did not do the right job, and the people who are responsible are called. This country, Africans still respect their top leaders. Right. If the leaders come out strongly to fight this corruption, and if they are sincere about it, then this mess will end up.
Right.
Yeah.
And Professor, Mr. Nene speaks about the leaders coming out strong to fight corruption, but one would argue that this is also a societal thing. As a society, do we value integrity? Do we then have, that moral standing to call to question corruption? Or is this just a mirror of what the standards we are putting ourselves? I
think we have set the standards, and we have come up with some very weird mentality. That when you go to law school or you become an economist, or like my friend who is sitting across the board, the best thing you can do is when you graduate from the university, you look for a white-collar job, First thing, you have to go and drink at Cedars, where wine there, a glass of wine, though I don't drink, but I've observed people struggling. A glass of wine there is $340, shillings. And then you have to drive a Prado, and then move from, let me say, one-room house to Westlands or what have you, so that you can maintain the status quo. But in that process, you need money to maintain yourself, and that's how corruption comes in. We lack moral turpitude in this country. The majority of those people who lack that are people like myself, scholars and middle class going ahead. They engage themselves in a lifestyle that cannot be audited on a mere salary. The government should also come out and say, look, decentralization of devolution is good, but why do you have ministries? Why do you have ministries centered in Nairobi? Why can't we devolve these ministries? For example, Ministry of Water, take it to Isiolo. Ministry for Livestock, take it to Kajiado. And then the central bank, let it be where it is. Let's take parliament elsewhere, shift Nairobi City because of its overpopulation to a place where it can expand like Isiolo or Nanyuki. And then now come into decentralized finances. What is wrong with the government looking at NYS and decentralizing NYS to counties, so that each county has got a version of the greater NYS so that the governors can manage?
Right.
And secondly, when the government is talking of NYS as its entities, when you look at the Constitution, there is that clause or article which harmonizes relationships between the county government and central government in issues of consultation. Right. They should consult the governors to find out how to kill this problem. Because the Waiguru saga is just very ripe. She's become a governor, so Utadu. And then now we have another scandal of a man who was appointed to replace her with questionable characters. And then now we need soft approach to uproot this. These criminals should be removed and put in jail.
Okay,
and the DPP should be empowered.
Hard stance, Professor, is what you're calling for.
Yes, yes.
Right, and gentlemen, we have come to the end of, our time is up for tonight, but great insights there, and many thanks for joining me on the show tonight. Of course, this is a developing story that here at KTN News, we shall continue to keep an eye on it for you and bring you the latest on the same. Many thanks for watching The Big Story. My name is Sharon Omanyi. I'll see you again tomorrow night. Have a good night.